Good evening, my name is Mary Ramos, and I'm going to take you guys back to high school. So this may not have been the same for everyone, but do you remember back in high school being an underclassman and maybe being told by an upperclassman or a teacher that you should be active on campus and you should take all those APs and get those good grades, because colleges weren't necessarily looking about how well you do in all these things individually, but rather how well you excel in them altogether. Maybe this isn't how it happened for you, but from personal experience, high school looked a little like being on a sports team, having a job to support your family, having a zero period, being in multiple clubs, being on ASB, and many other extracurriculars you can think of, while still trying to make friends, still trying to fit in, and all while trying to attain that 3.8 to 4.0 GPA while taking multiple AP classes. But here's the catch though. While balancing all of these activities, you'd probably get home at like 6 p.m., 8 p.m., maybe even later. But unlike college, you're going to these classes every day. Unlike college, your grade isn't just based off of midterms, quizzes, tests. Majority of your grade was based on homework. So what would these 6 to 8 different teachers do? They would assign you an overburdened amount of homework every day, believing that you would have more than enough time to complete the assignments, with enough time left to balance all these extracurriculars. My main proposition for you is that high school students receive a ridiculous amount of daily homework that results in a physical toll on their health. My main supporting arguments, which I will use to prove my proposition, are that 1, high school students are being affected by sleep deprivation, 2, by showing you that any more than 2 hours of homework every day is counterproductive, and finally by discussing how students are choosing homework over developing their personal skills and talents. My first claim is that high school students today have been more affected by sleep deprivation than ever before. According to the Nationwide Children's Organization, teenagers from ages 13 to 18 need exactly 9 1/4 hours of sleep to function at their best. And yet students these days average sleep rate can range from 6 hours to even pulling an all-nighter, ultimately leading to poor classroom performance, difficulty concentrating, headaches, weight issues, etc. Many things which most of you guys maybe have experienced once or even more times in your high school careers. Daniel Taylor, assistant professor of psychology at the University of North Texas, reported, "We know so little about the health of this age range, even though the consequences, including substance use, psychopathology, poor grades, dropout, and subsequent unemployment, could be seen greatest caused by sleep deprivation." High school students are expected to complete so many hours of homework every day given by multiple teachers while still believing that they can receive this 9 1/4 hours of sleep? I don't think so. Now that we understand how high school students today have been more affected by sleep deprivation than ever, I will go to my second claim, which is that anything more than 2 hours of homework is counterproductive. There was a survey conducted at Stanford University, which was then published in the Journal of Experimental Education, stating that any more than 2 hours of homework per night is counterproductive. Students in high-achieving communities who spend too much time on homework experience more stress, physical health problems, a lack of balance in their lives, and ultimately alienation from society. Another survey by the University of Phoenix in 2013 states that high school students had an average of 17.5 hours of homework per week and 3.5 hours of homework per day. When will these students have time to develop their talents? When will these students have time to spend with their family? Because of these indifferences in their lives, they're spending so much time focusing on homework, which is ultimately leading to alienation from society. Denise Pope, PhD, a senior lecturer at the Stanford University School of Education, states, "Our findings on the effects of homework challenge the traditional assumption that homework is inherently good. Many students feel so forced or obligated to choose homework over developing other talents or skills because society has implemented this in their minds, that in order to get into college, You have to get these good grades on homework while balancing all these other extracurriculars. My final claim for you is that because of overbearing homework, students are choosing this homework over developing other talents or skills, leading to social alienation and to actions as extreme as suicide. In 2013, a survey was conducted at Stanford University, which included more than 4,300 students at 10 high-performing high schools in upper middle-class Californian communities. 70% of these students said they were often or always stressed out about homework, with 56% listing it as a primary stressor. Because so many of these students are focusing on homework, they forget to focus on themselves. The American College Health Association found the suicide rate among young adults ages 15 to 24 has tripled since the 1950s, and suicide is currently the second most common cause of death among students. Once again, students are focusing so much on homework, given by all these teachers, that they forget to focus on themselves. So in conclusion, my main supporting arguments were that sleep deprivation has affected more high school students now than ever before. Anything more than 2 hours of homework is counterproductive, and students are choosing homework over developing personal skills and talents, ultimately leading to alienation from society. I hope that this speech has helped you realize that high school students receive a ridiculous amount of daily homework that results in a physical toll on their health. Thank you.
All right, well, the background stuff for attention device is fine. I like the, you do have a very declarative statement as your proposition, which is good, but it has multiple parts to it, and that's a little complicated, so I'd be careful about that. There's got to be a way to synthesize that so it would work better. There's a good preview of what the supporting structures are going to be, so I thought that was fine, and you signposted those pretty clearly in the body of the speech. You started providing a lot of information at the very beginning, so I thought that you did a good job providing testimony and statistical evidence to support some of your positions. There are hypotheticals in the opening section, but I'm not exactly sure that we have any practical examples. We're going to have to make inferences primarily from the statistics that you're presenting. There are some pieces of testimony from the research that you're talking about, and I'm not sure if it's 3 different Stanford studies or one Stanford study that's been quoted 3 different ways that you've got here, but at one point you do have Professor Pope, who is being quoted as an authority there, and I don't know if they're the author of the study that you made reference to before and afterwards, but that's one section where there is a good piece, like I said, of credentialed testimony on that particular point. I appreciated the fact that one of the things I thought of immediately when you said the amount of homework, anything over 2 hours is too much, the first thing I thought of is, okay, so how much homework is being assigned? And thank goodness you provided me with some information about that very issue, because that was the glaring thing that was sitting right in front of me, and you had that data handy and presented it. I thought that was pretty effective. The notion that there are other things that they are not paying attention to, that one I think is a little bit less documented. The notion that they aren't developing skills that they might have a talent in because they're spending all their time on homework. I didn't see much proof on that. I did see some proof that the students were stressed out by the amount of homework that they had. How you measure how much stress they have, I'm not quite sure, but 70% felt that they were stressed. That was 70%, like you said, in upper income areas in that particular area. So they might be the ones that are got to get into school, got to do X, Y, and Z, and all that kind of stuff, so they get stressed out about it. I don't know how typical that is, so it may be limited to just the one particular group. The suicide rate increase is an interesting correlation. I do think it's a little bit difficult at this point to attribute it to homework. I'm sure that there have been people who've jumped out the window or done something awful to themselves because their homework piled up on them, but I'm not exactly sure that the evidence that you presented documents that relationship. It's just a piece of correlation that's going on there. All right, thank you.